Thomas's branch line was busier than ever. Thomas had left on a special journey to the other railway. With that being said, there was no one to take Thomas's passengers on Annie and Clarabelle. So Percy had to take his place. As Percy arrived at the station, he saw Daisy having a drink. "Hello, Daisy," he said cheerfully. "Your paint is almost as green as mine." "That," sniffed Daisy, "would be a contrast of us having the same paint or not." Percy chuckled, but then thought about Thomas. "You know," he said, "with Thomas on the mainland, things are hard running the line without him." "Too right," agreed Daisy. "So many school children are on this platform that Sir Topham had kindly asked me to bring a coach in tow. I tell you, I am not fit for this." Annie and Clarabelle sniggered. They knew how stubborn Daisy was. "We'd be surprised if you took us on with you," they said. Percy laughed too and went on his way. "Be careful," Daisy cautioned, but I'm afraid she was too late. Percy didn't realize that he was headed for trouble. Near the station was an old trestle bridge. It was very worn out. Worst of all, the water level was risen, and the rails began to sink with them. Percy was too busy thinking of being on time that he didn't see that he was approaching the bridge until too late. His driver, though, peered out and threw open Percy's regulator. They were halfway over when... "Ow!" cried Clarabelle. The bridge had finally gave way and collapsed into the water. Percy and his driver looked back. Percy sighed relief. "Well, Percy," chuckled his driver, "I knew we should have waited until further inspections were made." Percy, Annie, and Clarabelle could only agree. "I'm just glad we didn't go in for a swim," Clarabelle sighed mournfully. But they weren't the only ones who were in trouble. Meanwhile, on the other line, Toby was chuffing by with a trainload of stone. Mavis had taken ill, so Toby was asked to take part of her train. But as Toby reached the next station, he felt exhausted. "I need more water," he sighed to his driver and fireman. "Agreed," chuckled the driver. "You deserve it anyway." The fireman ran to the water tower and then came hurrying back. "Bad news," he cried. "The water tower is empty." "Empty?" cried Toby. "It must be the dry season already." Toby's driver sighed, but then he had an idea. He whispered it to the fireman, who sniggered. Then they climbed back aboard Toby, and they puffed away. They soon arrived at a bridge near the river. Toby was very puzzled. "Driver, I thought we were going to get water." "Oh, we are," chuckled the driver. "From here." Toby was speechless. "You don't want me to end up like Thomas, don't you?" "Don't worry, Toby," laughed the driver. "We'll be careful when we duck our bucket into the water." Toby didn't want to, but he had no other choice. He'd run out of water and would never complete the job on time. Soon the buckets were full, and Toby's tank was as well. Then he puffed happily away. Next, it was Daisy's turn. She was happily trundling along the line with her passengers inside, singing her praises. "I hope George is doing his best not to get in the way," she complained to her driver. Yesterday, George had gotten into an argument with Daisy about roads being superior to rails. And she, of course, didn't like his attitude. "Don't worry about it, Daisy," soothed her driver. "I'm sure he's on his best behavior today." But that was easier said than done. When Daisy purred into the station, a strong gust of wind flew through the air. "Brrr!" shivered Daisy. "My bearings!" The wind blew much harder. In between the line and the road were construction cones, but by now a cone had flown away. Daisy was just preparing to stop when all of a sudden, "Ouch!" she cried. And coughing and spluttering, she shuddered to a halt. The guard and the driver went to see the problem. He looked under the wheels and gasped. When he came back up, he walked in front of Daisy. "I think I found the problem," he said, holding a torn cone. Daisy gasped. "I bet this was one of George's schemes," she shuddered. Then she realized she couldn't move. Her brakes were lodged in. She was glad when her fitter came and solved the problem. She pulled out of the station, feeling much better. Soon it was the day Thomas would be returning home, and all the engines gathered around at the station. But Percy, Toby, and Daisy were the most excited. They couldn't wait to tell Thomas all about their adventures. They didn't have time to wait. They heard a whistle, which they immediately recognized. "Thomas is back!" squealed Annie and Clarabelle. "He's back forever!" Soon Thomas puffed in. "Hello, everyone," he said. "It's so nice to be back. The Railway Museum was fun, but it's much nicer to be back. So what happened?" Percy and Toby were too exhausted to reply. "Oh," chortled Toby, "nothing too exciting."